This is my 2006 Fleetwood Toyhauler, and I did some repairs a couple years ago, but it's been about 2 years since I checked them. You can see this die core has already got a hole in it. It's separating. It's gotten so bad with a leak that this is actually loose. You can see it's soft. It's like there's no wood underneath here. It's hard up here, and then it gets soft as you come down towards this direction. I'm going to try to tear this whole corner out and see if I can replace this corner's worth of material. I can't afford to pay $6,000 for someone to redo this whole roof for me. And working out in the open during rainy season, this is going to be pretty tough. As I was saying, this has got to all come off of here. I'm going to try to redo this entire corner. I'm going to try to peel this back if I can to get to the wood that's rotten and see what I can do about replacing this framing in this corner of the wood. And then this piece here, this is the drip edge piece here that holds this on. I'm going to undo this, and then this is still very flexible. And instead of being riveted, they're all screws on here. So I'm going to go and kind of start cutting into this and pull this piece off, see if I can start getting this undone as well to lay this back. Got those screws out, and you can see it's pulled away. It'll pull away some. I'm not planning on taking this entire length off, just far enough that I can get to this and peel it back. And I'm gonna have to work on this section here, try to get all this caulking off. It looks like it's the same idea. This piece of rubber should be covering some screws. Again, loosen it just enough to get this pulled back. It looks actually like maybe someone's done some repair before I bought it, but there's one screw holding it here. I'm gonna undo it, and hopefully it'll give me enough, just some looseness here to pull that out. Working here to get these screws and things out of this piece here so it can come up, just to make sure I'm not hanging onto any of this. I can pull this away and see what it looks like. Watching the previous video sections, you saw there was a bunch of the silicone, not silicone, excuse me, like the die core kind of covering these. I had to pull this, is just slopping. The bolts won't even pull out, it's so rotten. But I'm going to take this top ladder piece off, which ultimately this will focus in, comes with these bolts down the side here. But this is just ugly mess. This whole thing's rotten. I'll see how bad it is when I really get it off of here. But right now it also looks like there's underneath here, underneath this lip, there's some staples. I'm going to show it to you here. Get a good angle here. There's some staples that fit through, that like they're stapled them in. I got to pull these out because this keeps grabbing on it. Through this side, through this little lip here, there's like some 100-mile-an-hour tape kind of material laying over it so it doesn't rip it. But then there are these kind of staples going in basically like this into the side that you have to pull out in order to get this to peel back. Okay, so I've got it removed fairly far back here, this molding. And part of the problem you have is, and you guys are probably smarter than me, you know this, but they actually glue this down. So as you get to where it's not rotted away, you're just going to start sticking. And then you've got this other, the material sticking here to it. It's just really a mess. So what I think I'm going to do is come across here and cut it. Cut a piece out, pull this off, pull the wood off, put a new piece down to where that seam is. I'm going to put some more patching on it and just put a new big piece of material up here. The other problem you get into, and sorry for the shadows, is this material here, this probably goes down about a foot at least. It may go further down past this. So I'm going to have to cut this with a razor knife as far as I can down in there so that my new piece will at least go underneath. I got that corner torn out initial. You can see a lot of these beams here are not so bad as you got further away, but I'm gonna have to cut it so I can replace these ends and then rebuild this whole beam here. I may even cut this back a little further before it's over and done with, but now I'm gonna clean this up for now. Got a good bit of the stuff torn out. Still got to move this outer piece here and this piece along here. Not going to go back any further than this than I have to, so I can maybe overlap some boards. I'm going to try to do the same thing here to overlap some boards as well, in addition to. So we shall see how it turns out. We'll try to continue with this some tomorrow. So as I've looked into this, I found out that actually what I have is the TPO, not the EPDM or whatever it's called. It's white on both sides, and this is a additional, like a felt or fleece that they had lining it. which I understand they don't make it anymore. So I'm gonna go back with just some of the TPO right on top of new wood. And I'll show you up top there where I finished all the destructive part. The destruction is done. I have pulled material out. This entire beam here, it goes here the length of this, I pulled out. I'm going to put a wider piece in here and come across here with it and anchor it all. This, from the inside, you can't tell any of this damage is done except for this box is loose. So my plan is to get a new sheet of material and lay on top of this entire area, and then bring this up through it again, so making it sturdier. And of course I'll put a new beam here when I do all that as well, and of course the topping, come up with some more insulation as well. And so then I will be back with you once I get those products together and start reassembling. Try to catch up a little bit here on what's happening. So I got this one piece of wood cut. I actually had to remove this outlet, buy a new one, because I couldn't get the other one loosened enough to remove and replace. And so that's where I'm at now. I'm fixing to pull this up, clamp it back in place. I put a few nails in the edges here just to hold this down a little extra. But ultimately, this board here is going to go on top of it, as well as this board here will go on top of it. Okay, I've got all my pieces cut. I've got this one here anchored in place. Got to go get some brackets to anchor this, and then anchor this one right here. And I'm going to just have to do some type of a joint here to go across these, because there's really nothing down below this to nail to. I'm not sure. I think what they did is this was across there. There's probably somewhere there that you can nail it across. But mostly what was holding, I think, was staples coming up from the top here. So I'm going to probably just put some kind of anchor across the joint here on both sides, do like an L bracket here on both sides to support it, and then I think we'll be good to go. What I did is I went and got these mending brackets, so you can see, and then my wood's going to sit down in here between them, and then I can bolt in from the sides here, or screw in from the sides. The problem gets to be is I'm not real certain how solid some of this is underneath, so it's probably better for me to do that, take that approach to it. Okay, so I'm done prepping this as far as cutting boards and so forth. I'm ready to start cutting the shape of my piece of decking. Now, before I actually put the decking down permanently, I will get some more insulation and put in here. But I'm going to start measuring now and cutting my kind of oddball shape I'm going to have to cut to lay a piece of 7/16 OSB down. Here I got my piece of TPO roofing, and I cut my pattern out on it. So I'm going to cut it out prior to installing my piece of decking back up, just so once it's in place, it'll be easier to lay it on top instead of trying to measure it and figure out how the shape is after I nail that decking down. Multi-purpose roll of insulation at Lowe's is like 5 something. I'm going to lay it back in here on top before I start putting my decking down. There, insulation is back down. I'll put the decking on now. Okay, so I've kind of done a few pieces here. Let's skip maybe a section of the video, but I've got my TPO back on top, and then once I got it on there, I cleaned the old TPO with a cleaner, and then I put the alternative on, tape down over everything. Now all I've got left to do is to put the die core along this edge, and I'll put a little bit along this edge too, just as extra. And then while I'm up here, I'm going to be doing some die core, redoing it around my other vents and things as a maintenance. And that really concludes the project. Hope this might have helped some of you who are a little bit leery of jumping in here and doing this kind of stuff.